Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. This is the show where we try to keep you up to date on all the latest movie news with insight into what it all means, and of course, to give you a little bit of context as well. Now, my name is John Campea. I'm the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, and as you can tell, I am not in the AMC Movie News studio. I am right now in my hotel room in San Diego at Comic-Con. So this will not be a regular AMC Movie Talk show, and they haven't been for most of this week. I've just, but instead of doing no shows at all, because we're in Comic-Con, I decided that even though it's kind of boring and that it's just me, and I apologize for that, we thought doing a show, just kind of keeping up to date on what's going on, even with it's just me, is better than nothing. I hope I'm better than nothing. Anyway, so here we are doing this show, and today is kind of be like a mailbag edition. Now, I'm going to let you know right now, this has been killing me. This has really been kicking my ass, because what happens is I get up at like 7 in the morning here. I do a bunch of stuff here. I take the shuttle to the convention center, which is about a half-hour shuttle ride away. Do a bunch of stuff. This morning, I had a bunch of stuff I had to do. I'll get to that in a minute. Then hop back on the shuttle, rush back here as fast as I can, try to do a show, and then I have to get back on the shuttle and go back out there to do more stuff tonight. And that's kind of been the daily process, and it's been, I won't lie to you guys, it's been killing me. So this weekend, because I'm still in San Diego, normally we do an AMC mailbag on Saturdays and Sundays, and we're not going to have a mailbag this weekend. I just can't do it. So don't worry though, we will be back in studio on Monday, giving you the regular AMC Movie Talk with the rest of the crew. You know, Dennis, of course, or Chris Lee, Clark, Amy Rose, John Schnepp. You know, we'll have the regular crew come Monday. For now, you just got to put up with just me. So we're going to kind of do a bit of a mailbag edition. Now, I'm going to keep you up to date on some of the stuff I've been doing here at Comic-Con. Comic-Con so far has been a lot of fun. Obviously, I started off Wednesday night by hosting a screening of the new Lionsgate film You're Next, and after the screening, I got to do moderate a Q&A with the writer and the director and a couple of the stars of the film, and that was a lot of fun. Yesterday morning, I got to host my annual Masters of the Web panel, where I had some of the best minds in horror online on the panel, and of course we had the writer and the director from Your Next on there as well. That was a lot of fun, and a lot of you guys came to that as well and introduced yourselves, and that was great. Last night was our AMC Movie Talk meet and greet, and it was so much fun meeting a bunch of you guys who traveled. Some of you came from a very long ways away. We had one dude from Moscow come up, from Moscow, Russia, come up to us and came up to Schnepp and is like, I watch AMC Movie Talk all the time. It was really, really cool. So that was a lot of fun. And then last night, this is kind of cool. At the meet and greet, one of my favorite guys in Hollywood actually is a guy by the name of Roberto Orsi. And Roberto, for those of you who don't know, so he stopped by the AMC Movie Talk meet and greet, was really kind enough to stop by, say hello. And now this is the dude who wrote the last 2 Star Trek movies. He is the writer for the upcoming Spider-Man 2. He was the writer and one of the executive producers on like one of my all-time favorite shows, Alias. He's the new executive producer on this new show coming up called Sleepy Hollow. He wrote the first Transformers movie. I think he also wrote the second Transformers movie. I'm not really sure about that. But anyway, he's extremely prolific in the business. Really nice guy. I actually had him as a moderator on my panel at Comic-Con one year, a couple years ago. And he's just a sweetheart of a guy. I'm a big fan of his work. And so that was really nice of him to stop by. And this was kind of cool, too. So afterwards, I go to this IGN party. And I don't go to a lot of the parties, especially when I'm tired, because I've worked a lot while I'm here. But Edgar Wright, the director of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, he's got a new movie coming out called The World's End, of course, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So he Facebook messages me and it's like, hey, are you coming to our IGN party? I'm like, I wasn't going to go, but I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. I mean, if Edgar Wright invites you to go somewhere, you go. So I go to this party, and while I'm there, this was kind of funny. I bump into this friend of mine. His name's Greg, and he's a publicist in the business. And I hadn't seen him in a while, so he called me and said, John, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Greg. So I went over and I talked to him for a second. He says, oh, by the way, this is Kristen. And there's this blonde girl with him, Kristen. I turned to her and, as polite as I could, oh, how you doing? Nice to meet you. But I was really interested in talking to Greg. So I turned back to Greg and I'm talking to him. And to be honest, I'm kind of ignoring the woman that's with him. And so we talk for about 1 or 2 minutes. And then when we're done, I turn to say, hey, really nice meeting you. And I shake her hand. And I start to walk away. And it was when I was about 10 or 11 paces away from Greg and having finished talking to him, it dawned on me. That was frickin' Kristen Bell. That was Sarah Marshall. That was Veronica Mars. And I just completely brushed her off as if she was just some bystander. And I just completely brushed her off. And it killed me because I love Kristen Bell so much. But the thing is, I hadn't seen Greg in a while, right? So I was just so focused on talking to Greg that even though I was this far from her, like face to face, I wasn't really paying attention to who it was I was looking at because I was more focused on my buddy and I wasn't meaning to be rude. And then, I turned back to her to say, hey, nice meeting you. It was nice meeting you just when I'm about to leave. And it's 10 steps later. I'm like, oh, that was Kristen Bell. And I've never met Kristen Bell. And I love Kristen Bell. So that was my kind of jackass moment of the night, which wasn't so cool. This morning was also very cool. Aside from walking Comic-Con floor, I had a chance to interview Edgar and Simon and Nick about World's End. We had a chance to interview Harrison Ford for Ender's Game. We had a chance to interview the whole cast of Kick-Ass. We had a chance to interview the cast of Spider-Man 2. We had a chance to interview the cast of Divergent, The Mortal Instruments. Tomorrow's going to be a really crazy day. Tomorrow night, actually, I'm interviewing the cast of Thor 2 and Captain America 2. So that's going to be kind of big. And tonight, this is great. Yesterday, I got an email and said, hey, we'd like to invite you to our Kick-Ass / Playboy party. So Playboy and Kick-Ass are putting on a party tonight here at Comic-Con, and I get to go to that. And am I bragging a little? Yes, I am. I'm bragging a little bit. I get to go to the Playboy and Kick-Ass party tonight. That's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, let's get to some mailbag questions. Listen, guys, if you have topics or questions you'd like us to address on our regular AMC Movie Talk shows or on our weekend mailbag shows, you can email us a question at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. And we take a couple questions every day. On the weekends, we take a whole bunch more. So let's get started with our first question of the day. And our first question today comes from Francisco Serrano, who writes, hey guys, greetings from South America. And by the way, big fan of your show. Well, thank you so much, Francisco. My question is about the Bill and Ted movie that I heard some time ago was considered being made. If that's the case, what do you think about the third movie coming out? Yeah, they've been talking about doing a Bill and Ted 3 for a while. But a couple of months ago, and I'm forgetting the dude's name, the other guy in the movie who's not Keanu Reeves, and forgive me for forgetting his name off the top of my head, but he was doing an interview and they were talking to him about it. And what he basically revealed was that, every once in a while, him and the writers and even Keanu Reeves get together and they start kicking around ideas. And then they came up with an idea that thought, oh, hey, this one could actually make a pretty cool Bill and Ted movie. So what happened was the writers from Bill and Ted started writing something out that could possibly, potentially, maybe, eventually become a Bill and Ted 3. But it was never close to being official or anything like that. So what happened was, he said, that it got leaked that they were working on Bill and Ted 3, and then all of a sudden he said the internet exploded with, Bill and Ted 3 is coming, when in reality it's not. So he said, who knows? Maybe someday there will be a Bill and Ted 3. And I mean, we've got an idea, but so far nobody has stepped up to say that they're going to make it or finance it or anything like that. But he said, maybe someday, but right now we just don't have anything for you about whether or not it's actually going to happen. I'd be all for a Bill and Ted 3, to be honest with you. I'd love to revisit these characters again. I think they were ingrained enough in our pop culture that even though it's been a really long time, I still think the Bill and Ted name carries some weight. It's a movie that you don't need $100 million to make. You could probably make Bill and Ted 3 for like $40 or $50 million, which means you really don't have to have it make all that much money at the box office to make a little bit of profit. You could probably even do Bill and Ted 3 for like $35 million. Which means it won't be that hard financially to sell. And I think there's upside there. I absolutely think there's upside there. So me personally, Francisco, I would love to see a Bill and Ted 3. I have my doubts it'll ever actually happen. But if they can finish a script, and it looks like the script can be made for like $30 to $40 million, I wouldn't be shocked if a studio steps up to the plate and says, yeah, we'll take a gamble on this. This is a pretty good gamble to make, because even if we swing and miss completely, we'll probably only end up, losing out about $100 million. Now that I say it, that sounds stupid. But I mean, I think they would be able to make their money back and maybe even make a little bit of a profit on that. So I hope they do it. All right. The next question comes to us from Kenny. And Kenny writes, hey guys, Kenny here. This show is awesome. Well, thank you very much. Keep it up. I had a thought about how they could put Megatron and Starscream in the Transformers movie. I'm assuming he means the new Transformers movie. They get started off with Josh Duhamel and Nest sending Megatron and Starscream, their bodies, into deep space. Unicron finds their bodies and transforms them into Galvatron and Thundercracker. Then send them back to Earth as his minions to fight the Autobots. Would like to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks. Well, I mean, hey, let's start with the whole concept of Megatron and Starscream. Here's the problem. In the Transformers movies, they've already done the thing where Megatron's killed, we took his body and deposited it somewhere, but the Decepticons somehow found a way to revive him. So that's already been done. So that becomes a real problem. Plus, Starscream, I don't think I'd want to see Starscream come back as Thundercracker. It's not a bad idea, actually. I really miss one of the big problems with the Transformers movies, and everybody knows I was a big fan of the first Transformers movie, even though it had a lot of weaknesses. I had so much fun, and I love the first Transformers movie, and I really hated the second two. But one of the weaknesses of all the Transformers films was that they never went enough into the dynamic and the relationship and the banter between Megatron and Starscream. That's one of the things that I think was really missing in all of the Transformers films. But man, like I said, the whole thing about, reviving the body of Megatron, they've done it already. So, I mean, now it's just rehashing the same thing over and over again, even if it's Unicron. So I don't know that they'll make a Transformers, the next Transformers with Megatron or Starscream. And that's one of the reasons I said I thought they should just reboot Transformers. Because look, you can't have Transformers, Shockwave's dead, Starscream's dead, Megatron's dead, Jazz is dead, everybody's dead. I mean, all these really key characters. So I would have liked to have seen them just reboot it. But they're doing number 4, and look, because it's Transformers, I'm excited for it, even though I didn't like the last 2 films. Now, when you start talking about Unicron, here's the problem that I've always had with Unicron, and I won't be surprised if they do use Unicron in the new film. But the problem with Unicron is the same kind of problem that I have with the notion of Galactus in any kind of a Marvel or Fox Universe film. What fights Unicron? Technically, nothing. I mean, Optimus Prime, you can say, they fly into his system and they battle all of his antiviruses in him. Okay, but they're not really fighting Unicron. Optimus Prime can't transform, roll out, and go, toe-to-toe with Unicron. That can't happen. So Unicron, instead of being this really badass character, just becomes this ominous, theoretical threat out there that eventually is going to just destroy the world. So what you would have to have happen is Unicron is coming to destroy the world, but the Autobots have to fight against something else in order to stop Unicron. So they'd never really fight Unicron. And if that's the case, why use Unicron? I think there's a way to do it. I do. And if I hear that they are using Unicron, which I won't be surprised if they do, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'd be curious to see how they're going to handle it. I'm just saying what my fear about it is that he's kind of a pointless threat because he can't directly be engaged. Unless you had Primus or something like that, but then that's really stretching the bounds of imagination for a lot of people, so I don't think they'll do that either. So with the Megatron and Starscream thing, I don't think they'll do it because they've already done the whole revive Megatron thing. I hope they find a creative way to bring him back. That would be cool. And as far as using Unicron goes, it wouldn't be my first choice, but I'd be excited to see how they're going to use him if they do indeed decide to use him. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes from Sharoon S., who writes, greetings and salutations. Love your show. Thank you very much. Do you guys think that all the negative comments from the critics towards Man of Steel are fabricated on conspiracy theory, says the studios pay the critics to affect the image of a coming movie? Does this really happen? Sharoon, first of all, thank you so much for being the type of person who is intelligent enough to, instead of just buying some half-wit theory out there, you have the intelligence, sir, to actually bring it up and ask it as a question. I respect that completely, sir. Thank you for being intelligent enough to do that. Give me a second while I take a sip of water. I'm going to tell you this right now. You have to be pretty damn idiotic. You have to be pretty damn majorly idiotic to be one of those people who would believe in the fairy tale myth of, oh, studios pay off the film critics. You are one of the biggest lunatic nut jobs on the planet. And we need more people like Sharoon who says, wait a minute. All these people saying this crazy ass stuff. Let's just ask the question directly. Could this actually possibly be true? Thank you, Sharoon, for being intelligent enough to bring that up as a question. Because all these lunatics who say, oh, the film critics get paid off to say negative things. The film critics get paid off to say positive things. No, they don't. They don't. And if you believe they do, you're an idiot. And nobody who watches this show is an idiot. So we all must be talking about somebody else. But those people who believe film critics get paid off are morons. All right? I know a lot of film critics, and ain't none of them ever been paid a dime from the studio. Plus, if they were like going out and paying off 40 or 50 film critics, they know all it takes is one of those film critics to spill the beans and the reputation of their movie would be destroyed. It would be ridiculous. Plus, the studios, while I believe are very loose morally, they have some standards. And I think they know well enough they could not possibly pay off. And by the way, there is no point in paying off one critic. Like in the modern age of Rotten Tomatoes, where Rotten Tomatoes takes, the reviews from 500 critics or 1,000 critics or 200 critics or however many for that particular movie. In the age of Rotten Tomatoes, where they collect all these reviews from all these critics, for a studio, there is simply no point in buying off one film critic or buying off 3 film critics or even buying off 5 film critics, because that is the smallest, tiniest drop in the bucket. To actually influence anything, they would have to buy off 40 film critics, which they do not do. Because I know a lot of film critics, and they don't do that. And even if they did, as I said, out of 40 people, how are you going to make sure none of those 40 squeal? Because all it takes is one, just one. Then you destroy your studio, you destroy the reputation of that movie you're trying to promote. The other studios and all the other film journalists, trust me, the other film journalists would have a heyday eviscerating that studio and the other critics who took a bribe. It doesn't happen. Now, that's not to say that all film critics are completely upright and have a high moral code. There are what we call quote whores. And a quote whore is a critic who will just say something amazing about a movie in order to get their name on the poster. Best movie of the decade! Put it on the DVD cover, put it in the trailer, put it on the whatever. Now, those are what we call quote whores. Now, there's nothing wrong, like the dude from Rolling Stone, the film critic from there, to say something positive about a movie because he actually liked the movie, and then the studio using it on their posters. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you get these film critics who, even though they're dealing with some of the biggest pieces of trash in film history, will say, amazing, spectacular, just so they can get their name on the poster or in the commercial or whatever and get their name out there. That's what we call a quote whore. There are those out there, but these are people who just do it for their own gratification. They don't actually get paid by the studio to do that. So thank you again, Sharoon, for bringing this up, being smart enough to bring it up instead of just buying into that fairy tale myth that just brain dead zombies out there tend to accept, because it's not true. And so thanks for bringing it up. Let's move on to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Sabat T, who writes, I love the show a lot. Well, thank you so much, Sabat. For your kind information, I do know more about movies than my friends, and thanks to you all for that. Well, you're welcome, you're welcome, Sabat. I was just wondering, when you guys decide to do a movie review, is it possible to do it live? Because then we can participate too. I think you guys have the best show for movies, and I also like the honesty in opinions. I am a movie fan too, so I feel like joining in and share thoughts. So basically what Sabat is writing, now we have done 2 movie reviews on AMC Movie Talk. I'm very nervous about doing reviews. Now, I addressed this the other day, but just to sum it up, I'm very nervous about doing movie reviews because I will never give anything but my absolute honest opinion, but at the same time, I don't want to overly trash a movie that is just opening up in theaters and AMC theaters, because those studios and us are partners in showing their movies, and we want the movies to do well. So, but I'm not going to get on in a review and say I like a movie when I don't. I just won't do it. AMC has the type of integrity that they would never ask me to do it, and they know that if they did ask me to do that, they know I would quit. So I would never say anything positive about a film I don't like. So what we've done so far is we've done 2 reviews, one for Man of Steel, and we had 3 of us. One kind of liked the film, one of the 3 of us kind of liked the film, one of us hated the film, and one of us, me, loved the film. For me, Man of Steel is my favorite movie of the year so far. And that I felt comfortable putting up because even though there was some negative opinions about the movie, there was at least one of us really standing up for the film because that's how we honestly felt. Now, we also did a review for Pacific Rim, and thankfully all 3 of us loved that one. So we put that one up, no problem. So we want to be careful about what we do and what we say. So I'm not even sure how many more movie reviews we're going to do in the future. But here's the problem with doing a movie review live. And here's the problem with doing any show live. As human beings, we can be pretty outrageously stupid. As human beings. I am a human being. I have the capacity, just ask anybody who knows me, to be really unbelievably stupid sometimes. And that means if you do a show live and you say something really stupid, maybe I thought, oh, I'll say this because it sounds really funny in my head, and then I say it, and it turns out to be incredibly offensive to somebody, then there's nothing I can do to take it back. I can't edit it out because like thousands of you saw it being said live. And pretty soon, tomorrow on the news blogs, AMC, news director says X and X about X and X, and suddenly I'm the next Mel Gibson. Even though I didn't mean it, and I was just stupid. And that's one of the fears. Now, you talk about reviewing a movie, that's even extra harsh, because I want to make sure that if I ever criticize a movie, I want to be fair in my criticisms. And I don't want to say something that maybe later I'll regret, or maybe, if I say something I didn't really mean, it's like, okay, no, I gave your movie a 6 out of 10. When I said it's a complete pile of crap, I didn't really mean it was a complete pile of crap, because obviously I gave it a 6, not a 3, but you can't take that back. So I'm be very scared to death of myself. I'd be very scared to death. Doing stuff live, man, I'm telling you, is stressful because I'm always so worried that either I or one of the people that are with me are going to say something really stupid that they probably just meant to be funny, but it comes across totally the wrong way, and there's nothing we can do to take it back. At least when we do it pre-recorded, if I say something really dumb, I can go to Dennis afterward and say, yeah, Dennis, remember that time that I said all Italians are greasy? Maybe edit that part out. I thought it was funny at the time in my head. I am Italian. My real name is John Campea, by the way. I thought it was funny at the time, but maybe it doesn't cross so funny, and we can edit it out. But if the show had been live, there is no take. Suddenly, every website everywhere thinks I hate Italians. So what can I do? So I don't think you will ever see us do live reviews. I mean, what you're suggesting is great. Now, having live interaction on reviews sounds really cool. But because of the inherent danger of it, the bottom line here is I don't trust myself to not be stupid. That's the problem. I do not trust myself to not be an idiot. So I have to protect myself from being an idiot by having the ability to edit myself if I need to. So there we go. We will try some more live shows cautiously, slowly. We're going to try live shows, just not live reviews, I don't think. All right, the next question comes to us from Adam Rodriguez, who writes, hey guys, love your show. My question is, are we going to get a Daredevil sequel or reboot anytime soon? I mean, since Marvel has the rights back to the Daredevil, why don't they do anything with him? A standalone Daredevil film doesn't have to be part of the Marvel universe, right? Or is Marvel going to make him part of this Marvel universe? What are your thoughts on this? Great question. For those of you who don't know, Daredevil recently, Fox lost the rights to Daredevil because in order to keep the rights to Daredevil, they have to be in production on a new Daredevil movie every X number of years. And their time limit was coming up, and they decided not to go into production on a new movie, and therefore the rights lapsed back to Marvel. So Marvel now has the rights to Daredevil. But, as the question points out, there are no plans to do a Daredevil right now. And I'm going to be honest with you here, okay? This is me exposing my soul. This is me making myself vulnerable to you, that you could stomp on my heart and wound me deeply if you wanted to on this. But I'm going to be vulnerable and share this with you right now. I actually liked the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. Nay, I really liked the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. I propose to you that if you take out that horrendously awful teeter-totter fight scene, if you take that teeter-totter fight scene out of Daredevil, I might have it in my top 3 favorite comic book movies of all time. But that scene was so awful, it sinks it, down to the bottom somewhere. But I still really like the movie. I gotta admit it, I just do. I love Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. I love Colin Farrell as Bullseye. I really like the movie. So let's start with the part of the question of why don't they do anything with him? Well, remember, they've only had the rights back to him, I think, for about 4 months, maybe 5 or 6 months at the most. So don't be discouraged that they haven't done anything with him yet. Plus, keep in mind, they're kind of busy. Marvel's a little bit busy. They've got Thor. They've Thor 2. They got Captain America 2. They got Avengers. They got 2. They got Guardians of the Galaxy. They got Ant-Man. They got 5 films in the active pipeline right now. Plus, they're probably going to be doing Luke Cage sooner rather than later. They're probably going to be doing a Doctor Strange sooner rather than later. So I wouldn't look at them not doing anything on Daredevil right now as them not wanting to do anything with Daredevil, but they are kind of busy. And I'm sure they already had a roadmap and a plan for what characters they wanted to do long before they got the rights to Daredevil back. But I wouldn't be surprised if sometime after Phase 3, if they do start working on a Daredevil. Or who knows? I think the Marvel panel here at Comic-Con is tomorrow. For all we know, they may announce a Daredevil movie coming in 2016. We just don't know. That's possible. But I have a feeling we'll probably be looking at a Daredevil movie sometime after Phase 3 is done. And that's when they're probably going out, because I think they've already been planned up for all the stuff that they want to do between now and then. All right, let's get to the last question of the day. And the last question of the day comes from Sal Donato. And Sal writes, "Greetings and salutations, AMC Movie Talk crew. Keep being awesome, and may the Force be with you." Well, thank you so much. I love that greeting. An X-Force movie really has potential and could really kill a bird with 2 stones. I think you meant kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyway, for Fox, number 1, they can actually make Deadpool be Deadpool. In an ensemble movie such as X-Force, it doesn't have to center around Deadpool for the whole film, but just give the audience a taste of Deadpool. Number 2, if successful, it could not only establish an X-Force franchise, but maybe even a Deadpool franchise that can be notched up to rated R, and they won't be as hesitant as before. It has potential. I just hope Fox seizes the opportunity. Do you think Deadpool will be in X-Force? Are there any other specific mutants you'd like or think or hope to see in X-Force? Sal, great question. And I'm going to tell you right now, bravo. I love the idea. I love the way you're thinking. I really do. I said when we first reported on the news of X-Force, I said that one of the really cool potential things here is that this could be Fox's door to bringing Deadpool into their cinematic universe. And I think that's really very much a part of the potential here. But what you're suggesting is you bring him in X-Force, get the audience a little bit used to him, hopefully get to love him as much as other people like you and I love him, and then give him his own franchise that you can ranch up to rated R. I think that's a brilliant, I really do. I think that is a brilliant game plan for them. He doesn't have to be rated R in an ensemble film. Ranch him up, get him popular, put him in his own film, then ratchet it up to rated R. Now you've got a fan base. Now you've got an audience. You can take some chances by making it R. It's a great idea. I really love it. Now remember, Deadpool won't necessarily be in X-Force. X-Force isn't like the Fantastic Four, where you have your 4 key members. There have been a lot of revolving auxiliary members of Fantastic Four, but when we think of Fantastic Four, there are 4 people, obviously. X-Force hasn't really been like that. It's been always a big revolving door of different characters in X-Force at different times. So even though Deadpool has been in X-Force, it's not necessary that they will have Deadpool in it. I hope they do. I really do. I really hope they will. So yeah, overall, I love the idea. It's not necessarily true that it will happen, but let's hope. You got me on board. Well, listen, folks, that'll do it for me. Time is up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm still here at Comic-Con. A lot of other stuff going on. Once again, I just want to remind you we will not have our regular AMC mailbag shows on Saturday and Sunday because this is really kicking my ass and I'm so dead tired. I'm so tired. Please forgive me. We will be back with regular AMC Movie Talk. We will all be back in the studio come Monday. So please, do me a favor, guys. Jump into the comments section. Leave your thoughts on any or all the topics we discuss here today. And you don't have to agree with me. The most fun part, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you agree with me, say you agree with me. I love hearing that too. But if you don't, jump into the comments section, leave your thoughts and your ideas. Be respectful because we're all film fans here together. And leave your thoughts and ideas about how, maybe something I said was wrong or you liked my idea, but here's how you can make it better or whatever you want to do. And engage with each other as well. That's the best part about being a film fan. Do me a favor too. If you like this video and you like this show, click the thumbs up button. That's just a really cool way of letting us know that you like what we're doing here. Also, take a second, if you haven't subscribed already, become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. Keeps you up to date on everything going on in the film world of movie news and of our daily AMC Movie Talk show, and of course, normally our AMC mailbag show that happens on the weekends. So, hey, listen, obligatory AMC plug. Make sure you run over to amctheaters.com for your theater and showtime and movie ticket information. There's a lot of great movies playing in AMC theaters right now. You should go see Pacific Rim. It's pretty damn awesome. Yeah, so that will do it for me from Comic-Con. For those of you who've been watching me and putting up with me this week while it's just been me in the hotel, guys, hats off to you. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. We'll see you again on Monday. My name's John Campea, and until then,